My name is Vern Gaupp. I was in the class of 57. When we started, there was only 11th graders at the top end. There was no seniors. To fulfill the class, after they had built the school, they got kids who were coming from Columbia Heights and Anoka and combined them. And the school wasn't ready to open when school started. So they bused us over to Woodcrest Elementary, and we spent the first 2 weeks there. And then after the 2 weeks, they had the school ready to go into.
How many people were in your graduating class?
Oh, I think there was about 87, 88 right in there.
Where did you go to school before Spring Lake Park High School opened?
I went to Anoka. I was bused 13 miles to Anoka for 4 years. And then when they built this, I was only a mile north of here on County Road J. And so they bused us up here. And unfortunately, the school should have had a little more financing because they didn't have very much, at least what we were used to at like at Anoka. I was pretty much interested in shops and sports, and in our sports we didn't even have uniforms. And when we went into the shops, they didn't have any tools. They had workbenches and with vices on them, but I remember if we wanted a project, some of the guys that were my classmates, they worked at a cabinet shop close by, and if they wanted to do some cutting or edging, they would hop in the car with their pieces of wood and go over there and get it cut and come back and then assemble.
Did you participate in any sports?
I participated in all I could. I played football, basketball, baseball, track, and wrestling. And those first 2 years, we didn't even have a conference. So what they did is they searched for any school that would let us play them. And it was pretty lopsided. That first year was really bad. And it was only, on the football team, there was only four guys, as I remember, that had played previously to that. So for most of the guys, that first year was a learning experience. And then the second year, it got a lot better. We started winning a few games, and I was fortunate enough to be elected one of the co-captains with Perry Darlene.
What was the price of a school lunch?
If I'm correct, I think it cost 20 cents.
Can you describe a typical school day?
I don't know that it was that much difference scheduling-wise. We would have a home room, and then your curriculum would be like 5 or 6 hours of classes. I think they were about 50 minutes to a class. Basics, we'd have, not what they have today, I guess. The basic English, math. We did have physics, shops, sociology.
How has the school changed over the years?
Change is the biggest thing. When we started, there was 2 wings, and they were attached by the weight room or your small gym, and that was our gym and our cafeteria and an auditorium. Everything that we assembled that was at that gym, but each wing had classrooms on either side of it. Today, when I came in here to do this, I just got lost. This place is like a maze. It's so overgrown, it's hard to see where we were originally. When we were here, we didn't have all those gyms or the pools, or we didn't even have a field, a football field. And when they came in and they made it, it wasn't quite done. But when the spring that we were going to graduate, they were finishing it, and they were looking for volunteers to sod the field, and we did that. And we were putting down all the sod, and when we got it all done, we set some records that will never be broken because it was first pass, first kick. We didn't have track. When we participated in an athletic event, it always had to be at another school, or if we could make arrangements for a home game, it would be at a school close by anyway. You got to imagine what it was like to invite another school to a basketball game here in that gym. That was our cafeteria. And all you could put was 2 rows of chairs on each end and 3 rows on the sides. People would come to see the basketball game. When the buses come in and they would come inside, they could only look through the doors. They couldn't get in the gym. It was so packed. And now we look back at what you've got here, and I'll tell you something of real interest to people listening. When this school was built, this was like a desert in the fact that there was so much sand. And what grows in sand was sandburrs. When we practiced at Woodcrest on the side of the school in that field, when you got tackled, you got back up, and the next thing would happen is you turn around, the guy that tackled you would pull your shirt away from your back and peel off all the sandburrs. And when the wind blew, that sand was just like a desert. It would blow so it was hard to even see where you were going. And what looks like turned that all around is as they built houses, people started putting in lawns. So that's how they were able to stop all the sand blowing around. You have no idea how close you come to having the mascot as a sandburr. It's very true. And we were the class that had the most input on the colors. And I see now it's like a dark blue and a white. We actually voted in a Columbia blue, which is a light blue with white, and it was trimmed with red. And that was actually taken from, at that time, the Minneapolis Lakers. I kept my letter jacket as long as I could. It just fell apart. The material just disintegrated. So unfortunately I still got some letters, but that's all.
How has the community changed?
This was so desolate. There was very few homes around. They were building like crazy. We were mostly all bussed in, and most of us were bussed anywhere from a mile, I suppose, to 5 miles. That'd be my guess. So, and they didn't have anything for us to do, like in the school, after hours. I mean, if you had sports, you had practice, but after that, they really didn't have any opportunities. And I just walked through the school here now, and it's in the middle of summer now, and there's all kinds of activities for young kids, and that makes us very envious.
We've talked about how the buildings have changed and how the community has changed. Have people changed too?
I think so. You know, one of the things we were so close. We would have a party almost every weekend or every other weekend. We all gathered at one of the classmates' house. And the thing, in those days, we just didn't have drugs. And, we didn't have that kind of thing happening to us. We had parties where we would just dance, got along, listen to music. It was, we were really innocent by today's standards, and we had a lot of get-togethers, and I don't know if they do that now, but you didn't even have to be chaperoned. We always had an adult in the house, but that was just good sense. But we just never had any problems, and those were good times.
What was the extent of the technology that you had back then?
Well, I don't know if there's much I can say about that, but I remember in sociology classes they used to tell us that in the future they're going to have computers that you can just set on your desk and it'll do all the work for you. And we used to think that was a bunch of baloney, but it did come around. Yeah, if there was a movie of any sort, it was film projectors. CDs were unheard of.
Did you have any special social functions such as proms or homecoming?
Yes, one of the advantages of not having a senior class when I was in my first year here, we were juniors, so the sophomores actually put on the prom, and we just helped them with it. So it was a joint prom. And in those days, they'd decorate the gym. And the tradition was the parents would come to the start of it, and we did this walk past all the parents, and then the parents would leave, and we had a dance with a band, and we danced till, I don't know, I suppose about 11, 12. And then afterwards, we all piled in cars and went to restaurants and had a dinner. And then after that, those who participated, the next day, we took a trip somewhere, and we got in cars. We'd go up to Taylor's Falls or something like that. So.
Do you have any fun or interesting stories about back when you were in school?
Well, I had a well-known vehicle at the time, and everybody in the community knew it, and was a Model A, and we cut the top off, bolted the doors closed, painted it baby blue with black fenders and white walls, and we'd pile kids in, and it was well known through the whole community. And at that time, the principal was Harry Sheff, and he would come out and he'd look at it and hee-haw, but he did everything but wanting to jump in, and we had a lot of fun with that. In those days, it seemed like we were a little closer to the teachers. I don't know if they do that now. I remember even having parties where even teachers would drop in on us. And we had a great time with that. Let me tell you about a situation that happened. We thought it was pretty smart to give Prokopoets a bad time. So one night, about 4 or 5 of us, got together, and I had a can of red paint, and we went over and we painted the bottom of his mailbox, the post, painted that red, and then along his driveway there was a wood strip, and one of the guys went nuts and he painted it on his tree, and I said, don't do that, we got to take care of this. Laughed about it, got out of there. This is late at night. Didn't think too much about it till the next day when I came to school, and I got called into the principal's office and with the other guys. And waiting for us was a federal agent. And he told us that was a no-no. And he opened up the law book and made us read out of it that anything connected to that mailbox is federal property. So I went to, I was going to go clean up the mess like I had promised. Well, Prokopovich came up to me later on, and he and I were very close in those days. Hey, I got along with him so well. And he says, geez, Vern, you know what it's like when you get up in the morning and you go out and look out the window and you see that? If I'd have known that, I would not have called the police. Well, I told him I was going to clean up. He says, oh no, don't you touch that. I'll take care of that. Well, after school, after graduation, I went into the Navy. And I came home on leave. And I went over to see him. We had a chat for, oh gosh, it must have been 2 hours. And we were just walking around, and we come strolling by his driveway, and I noticed that red paint was still on the edge, the board on the edge of the driveway. And I says, how comes that there? And he says, well, the wife was going to take that off, and he says, don't you dare touch that. So it was a memento to him too. That was bad for us. You know, we were innocent by today's standards.